let's go! Hi, I'm back with my original setup. I know that everything's gone insane. And I really needed something that made me feel happy and excited about doing and to take my mind off of things. And surprisingly, I think to most of us, that is this. Just getting to talk about books, getting to throw a video out into the internet and to hope, I don't know if you can see my book stack right now, to hope that someone watches it. Yeah, I guess let's just get started. I forgot I didn't even explain what we're doing. Oh my god, I'm a mess. It's been too long, y'all, too long. Okay. Today I'm going to be doing the stay-at-home book tag, which was created by, oh shoot, I don't remember her name. Paperback Princess, I believe is what it's called. I'll link her video in description, so like, it'll be there. Let's do this. So the first sort of thing is laying in bed, and the question that goes along with this thing is a book you could / have read in one day. And I have a bunch of those, honestly. Oh, I just thought of another one. It doesn't matter how long the book is. If I really enjoy it, I can read it in one day. That's just... And some of them it's like, I did read it in one day for a challenge, but most of the time, it's just like, oh, I really like this book, so I'm gonna read it in one day. The two that I grabbed, because they're pretty obvious, are A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J Maas and Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon McGuire. Because, obviously, both of these books are tiny, so it's super easy for me to read both of these in one day. And I was super invested in them, so like, of course I had to read them one day, because I had to know what was going to happen. Some others that I can think of off the top of my head are, most recently, Aristotle and Dante discovered the secrets of the universe, because at first I was really kind of bored, and I was like, I don't know why I'm reading this, like, what's going on? And then I kept reading, and I was like, oh god, somehow I've gotten really, really invested. So I had to keep reading. And before I knew it, I was at the end of the book, and I was crying. It's fine. So this book, Defy Me by Tahereh Mafi. I also read this book in one day because it only takes place over like 1 or 2 days, the entire book. So it felt necessary to read it within like the span of one day. Also, I was reading it on a day when I didn't have school the next day till like noon, I think is when school started, so I didn't have to leave till 11. So I was able to stay up late and finish it. And because I'd already studied for my tests, I didn't need to worry about that. So it was just sort of like a relax, a detox sort of thing. And it just continued until it was probably around midnight when I finished this book, which isn't too bad. Like that's probably the latest I've stayed up to finish a book because I like my sleep. But like, it's not, like, I've heard worse. But I definitely did that with this book. Oh, I should probably put it back on my shelf. LOL. What was the other one that I just thought of right now? Oh my god. I could honestly name so many, and I feel like I should just stop now on ahead. But you know what? This one might come as a shock because it is a honkin' book. Nightfall by Shannon Messenger. This book is almost 800 pages. So the last page is let's find the actual last page. 794. So yeah, basically it's 800 pages. And yes, I did read this in one day. I had all of my homework done. And I was so invested in this story. I was just like, I have to do it. I have to read it an entire day. And I think it was like 4 p.m. and I was on like page 600 and I was like, I don't have that much left. Let's just do this. And I did, and I read it all, and it was insane. Even though it was insane, I still haven't read the next book in the series, so it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. That's all I'm gonna put out for now, because I'm sure I could come up with more if I thought about it, but we're just gonna continue. The next thing is snacking, and the question that goes along with this thing is a guilty pleasure book. And I have to say, I don't think I really have a guilty pleasure book. Because, like, I mean, I love the Shadowhunter Chronicles with my whole entire heart. And some people don't like those. I love the ACOTAR series and the Thread of Glass series, and some people don't. But that's the case with, like, everything. Because there's always going to be some person that's like, ew, this is annoying, I'm not going to read this. Right? So it's like, at the same time, also, I don't feel guilty about reading anything. The only time I think that I feel guilty about reading it, but I'm happy about it, is when I reread my Harry Potter series, because it's like I've read the entire series something like 5 or 6 times now, and I want to read it more because like I just love reading it, and like I feel a little bit guilty about it because it'd be so easy for me to read 7 or 8 books in the same span of time that I read that series, but at the same time it's just so important to me that it's like I can't not. So the next thing is Netflix, and the question that goes along with this is a series that you want to start. And I feel like I don't have very many series that I want to start necessarily, unless they're like duologies, which I don't, like, that's not really a series because there's only 2 books, so like that's not gonna take that long. Like I always think, when I think of like series I want to start, I think of like a series like this. And like when I look at my TBR shelf, which that's why I keep looking over there because it's over there, I mostly just have series that I've already started, but I haven't finished yet. So it's like I have the Vampire Academy series on there. The Vampire Academy series on there, which I want to finish. Then I have the Bloodlines series, which is like I need to finish the Vampire Academy before I read Bloodlines. I have the next book in the Keeper of the Lost City series, like I was talking about earlier. I have the rest of the Alex and Eliza trilogy by Melissa de la Cruz. Like, I think I have so many series that like I've read the first book or first or second book, but I haven't continued, which is a problem because I want to continue. But a couple of ones that I found that I consider like series I can start. The first one is The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. While this is a trilogy, so it like still doesn't quite feel like a series because it's not like a huge series, which is always what I think of when I get a question like this. But I still consider it because like we have the initial trilogy, and then we also have, where is it? It's right here. The Dance of Thieves duology, and I've read Dance of Thieves, but I haven't read Vow of Thieves. So like I would reread Dance of Thieves to read Vow of Thieves. So technically that would be 5 books. So it's like, yeah, I've read one of the books, but it's not the first one. So like I'm gonna hold it up. We have Crescent City, or House of Earth and Blood, I don't know what it's called, by Sarah J Maas. And we don't know how many books are going to be in this series, but taking a look at any of Sarah J Maas's past series can tell you that it's not going to be just 1 or 2. And I know that this series is just starting, but I haven't read this book yet, so it is a series that I want to start, so just those 2. Let's continue. The next thing is Deep Clean, and the question that goes along with that is a book that's been on your TBR for ages. And the first one that I can think of is Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. This is an arc that I got of the book that came out 2 years ago now, which isn't that long, but that means I got it like 2.5 years ago, and most of the books that I have from that time in my life I've either gotten rid of or read, so like, why am I slacking? I don't know. And like, okay, the other thing is I have a bunch of classics that like, yes, I should read very much, but I haven't yet because they're classics and they're hard for me to pick up and read because they take longer to read. Do you know what I mean? So like I don't really consider those like been on my TBR for a while because like, yeah, they've been on my TBR for a really long time because they've been out for a long time, but that doesn't really make a difference to me because I'm sure I'll read it eventually, and it's not like the author's always producing new things because the author is dead. That didn't make a lot of sense, but anyway. I also feel like I've been so close to picking this book up multiple times, and I haven't, which makes it feel like it's been on my TBR for ages because I still haven't read it. And then the other book is Golden Compass by Philip Pullman, his Dark Material series. And I think I have a bind-up of the first 3 books, but I grabbed the first book because it's smaller, it's easier to hold. And I think I got that in 2012. So when I was 10. So it's been 8 years, and I still haven't read it. So that's the other one. I feel like I missed out because I think I would have liked it a lot more if I'd read it. Maybe not at 10, I don't think I was quite up my alley then, but like when I was like 12 or 13 when I was reading Percy Jackson and Harry Potter and like the Mortal Instruments series, I would have probably really enjoyed this. And now I'm worried that I'm gonna be too old to like fully appreciate it because although I'm not the kind of person who won't read a book because it's middle grade. I just usually don't feel the same connection to it as I do with a YA or an adult book. And I understand why. It's because I'm not the age range that it's directed at. And that's completely fine, and I'm not mad at the author or anything for that. It just decreases my personal enjoyment of the book. But that doesn't stop me from wanting to read it because I know it's such a classic series and it does still seem interesting. So like, we'll see. Okay. The next prompt is Animal Crossing, which kind of feels like a poison arrow or something because like ever since everyone started playing Animal Crossing, all I've wanted to do is buy a Switch. Not for Animal Crossing because that sort of game isn't really my thing. I want to play more like role-playing, like Legends of Zelda-ish games where it's like we have to go on a quest and fight things, but not just like a shooting game. Do you know, I think you know what I mean. Like, it has like a story. It's not just like a battle. But I'm a uni student who already has trouble saving money because they buy books all the time. So how am I going to save up for a $300 video game console and then I have to buy all the video games? So I don't have a Switch and I don't play any of those games and I wish that I did. And I feel like this would have been the perfect time for me to get one of those and just like continuously play Legends of Zelda or something to like get into the game. But like, this is where we are and I guess I'll have to read instead. That's not a bad thing. Before that tangent, we were talking about this thing. The question that goes along with Animal Crossing is a book you bought recently because of the hype. And I didn't buy this book like super recently, but I've been wanting to buy it since 2018 when I first even heard of it. And then because it's an adult book and it's hard, like it's usually really expensive, so I kept passing it by when I went to the bookstore. And then finally I was like, I need to get this book. I need to read it. The thing is that was last August and I still haven't read it. It's fine. And that book is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. And I've been wanting to read Samantha Shannon books in general for a long time because Samantha Shannon is such like an iconic name in the book world. And she's only like 28 or 30 or something like that, which is insane because she's written this chunk of a book. She's written the entire Bone Season trilogy and she's writing more. And so every time I hear one of her books, I'm like, I wish that I could say I was a fan of Samantha Shannon, but I'm not because I haven't read any of her books and it's ridiculous. And it's like, I don't have to start a huge series like the Bone Season that's super thick. I can just read this. This is a standalone. Yes, it's 800 and something pages. Yeah, it's 800 and something pages, but like I said earlier, I read one of those books in one day, so this shouldn't be too hard. And I keep carrying it back and forth with me to uni and back because I want to read it so badly, but I just keep not picking it up because it intimidates me because it's huge. So yeah, my life's a little frustrating right now. Let's continue. This is a book I bought because of the hype and I need to read it as soon as possible. The next thing is productivity, which is something that I've been struggling with, but we're not going to talk about that. And the question that goes along with productivity is a book you learned something from or had an impact on you. And I feel like every book, almost every book that I read has an impact on me for one reason or another because I read it for a reason. I don't usually just read a book as like, oh, someone told me this was cool, so I'm gonna read it. Like, oftentimes the books that I choose are either have an impact because I love the author or because of, like, the subject of the book. But I think the book that most recently has made the biggest impact on me is I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. I read this book about a month ago, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. I already want to reread it. I started rereading it a while ago, or like a couple weeks ago, because I read it for a book club pick back in March, and I wanted to reread it before we like discussed things, but I didn't have time. But I still probably might reread it because it's pretty short, and I can read it in like 1 or 2 days, and when I'm reading it, I can't stop, so... this book is about... I haven't told you what any of these books are about. And we're not going to start now. This book had a big impact on me because the main character, Ben, is non-binary. And before this book, I had never read a book or seen a book that was popular that had a non-binary character anywhere in it. I did read the book Mooncakes back in February, which has a non-binary side character who's a werewolf. They're pretty cool, and it was cool to see them, and like that was amazing and all, but like this was the first book that I'd ever heard of, like when I heard about it when it first came out, that had a non-binary main character. And I can't believe that this is the first time I'm here. Like, I can't believe this is the first time that this has become a thing. Like, I get that people being non-binary is a more recent thing in the collective community, like, in the world's mind, but that doesn't mean we can only have one book with it that, you know, some people aren't going to want to read this because, yes, it has major transphobia, homophobia, like, all of these things, and those can be triggers for some people, and, like, I would prefer people to not be triggered than to read this book, if that makes sense. So, like, we just, this is me saying we need more representation. That's all it is. So yeah, this book made me cry multiple times, and even now I want to jump in this book and give Ben a hug because they deserve it. Yeah. And I really hope that in the future we can see more books with non-binary characters in them, or TV shows, or movies, because I feel like I've only seen one TV show with a non-binary character in it, and I've only read one book with a non-binary main character. Just, we can do better. There are so many authors out there that are all about representation, that are queer, that know about this stuff. Like, it doesn't have to be, Mason Deaver is non-binary, so they drew on their experiences to write Ben. But it doesn't have to be a non-binary person who writes a non-binary main character. While that's a good idea to, like, talk to someone who's non-binary because they know that their experience is best, like, it's not a requirement. No one's gonna be mad at you. People are gonna be happy because we'll have more representation. Okay. The next prompt is FaceTime, and the question that goes along with this is a book you were once gifted. And I have two for this, but, like, one of them isn't here, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway because I want to. And you know what? My rules. So the first one I want to talk about is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, and I know what I said about classics earlier, trust me, I know. And, like, when am I gonna get to this book? Who knows? No one. No one knows. I'll get to it when I get to it. But this edition is just so pretty, and, like, the only reason I want to read it is because I know that it's mentioned so much in the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare, and I know that the first book or the entire trilogy, I don't remember which, is loosely based on this, so, like, I want to read this as a side tangent to that series, you know? And this edition is really pretty. My sister got it for me for Christmas, and it's just, like, silvery, and, like, it feels really nice, and I like the blue, and the red is really pretty. It's a nice sprayed edges, and, like, this inside, these end papers are really pretty too. Just, yeah, it's pretty. Who knows when I'll get around to it, but it sure looks nice on my bookshelf, so. And the other one I want to talk about, I don't have the edition with me that I got, but I have a different edition that I bought a while ago. Anyway, I'm specifically talking about Mansfield Park by Jane Austen, and one of my friends is a huge Jane Austen fan, like, insane. She read all the books when she was, like, 11, which is crazy to me because even at 17 when I first read a Jane Austen book, I didn't understand what was going on, so I can't believe that she figured it all out. And she gave me this, like, pocket-sized Mansfield Park edition because she was like, you need to read this book, and now you can bring it with you to university, you have no excuse. And I was like, that's fair, I'll take that. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because that's a friend that I really appreciate, and yeah. The last prompt is self-care, and the question for that is one thing that you've done recently to look after yourself. And I feel kind of bad because I don't really think there is anything. I guess I've been trying to stretch every day because I like to be really flexible for dance and stuff. It just, yeah. And I've been trying to, like, you know, do a little bit of exercise. But other than that, I haven't done much. I don't want to get into it. Let's continue. Okay, and then there's a bonus. And the bonus is name a book that's coming out soon. And oh my gosh, I have so many. Okay, two that have already come out, but, like, they just came out the other day, so I'm going to talk about them anyway. of Curses and Kisses by Sandy Manon and Imagine Me by Tahereh Mafi. I need to read Imagine Me immediately. I talked about Defy Me earlier. That ending was not okay, and I need the last book. I've heard from some people that it's a little disappointing, but I don't care. I need to read it anyways because I need some sort of conclusion, disappointing or no. Next, what was the other one I was thinking of? Oh, This Coven Won't Break by Isabel Sterling, the sequel to These Witches Don't Burn, which I read back in January, which I'm really excited for because it's a fantasy, but it's like an urban fantasy, and it's really cutesy. Like, it's more cutesy than you'd think a fantasy would be, but it also has like a dark side, and just like, it's like so many different genres and like likability factors just sort of like together, and it's beautiful. I love it. And then I know Mason Deaver, the author of I Wish You All the Best, is writing another book, and I think it's being released this year, but I can't remember exactly what date. The Damned by Renee Ahdieh, which is coming out in June, the sequel to The Beautiful, which I'm not going to hold up, but it's up there somewhere. Cemetery Boys! I don't remember the author, but it's about a trans main character, which is like, although that main character, he's not non-binary, he's still trans, like, another thing we need a lot more representation for, so I'm excited about that too. And I'm going to stop rambling now. The book I'm currently reading is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I'm reading it for my OWLs. I'm going to be a librarian, and I'm reading this for my Transfiguration, because it's a book with shapeshifting, and like, if you've read this series, we know why they're shapeshifting it. I don't want to spoil anything. I am almost halfway through. I believe that like right here is this is like the second half of the book right here. So I'm basically halfway through, which I'm proud of myself for. And I gotta say, the beginning was a little slow. Like, I had a hard time getting into it in the very beginning because it kept switching back and forth for different characters, and like there wasn't really a plot happening. Like, each person sort of had their own plot, but I didn't really know because there's 3 narrators. I didn't really know what 2 of the narrators' plots were, and I was a little confused, and it was just sort of like a lot being thrown at you, and it was like, whoa. And there was only one character I really liked hearing from, but like, she didn't come up a lot, and so it's just like, But the plot's getting better now, and like, it's picking up a little more, and like, I actually know what's going on, which helps. So I am really enjoying it. I've read like 150 pages today, which I'm really proud of myself for. So I'm hoping to finish this in the next couple of days, and then I can start a new book. And that is that. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are watching and you have a channel, boom, you've been tagged. Go do this tag. And let me know in the comments if you guys are doing your owls and what career you're going for, because I'm really curious. I've talked to a couple people on Instagram and Twitter and stuff, but like, I don't really talk to people on here and I feel bad, so like, talk to me, I don't mind. I don't bite, I promise. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!